It is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023, and welcome to episode 221 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm Jessica Jones, NSI Deputy Executive Director, and today I'm joined by Lester Munson, NSI Senior Fellow, and Jamil Jaffer, NSI's Executive Director, and recent 9 out of 10 on Room Rater. Continues to get high marks on his patio. So today,
not in this room, unfortunately.
not in these current rooms.
Not in this.
Today, we're looking at a story that originally developed last week when Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested by almost 100 paramilitary forces on charges of corruption. The Pakistani Supreme Court subsequently declared his arrest unlawful, but said he should remain under court supervision. He was then granted bail and released from police custody. For those of you that didn't know, Khan was once an international cricketer, then a politician, then prime minister. It's almost like a little James Bond. And is now, after being deposed as prime minister by a no confidence motion last year, become a campaigner against what he describes as a corrupt system involving the Pakistani military and the rest of the country's political parties altogether. In recent months, he has led supporters in a series of mass rallies and mass marches. He's been shot at and wounded. His political supporters have clashed with police, and after his arrest, he's accused the head of the army of harboring a personal grudge against him and ordering his arrest. His arrest has set off protests across the country that threaten to destabilize the nuclear-armed nation of 230 million, which I learned is the 5th largest nation in the world. And for the first time in the country's histories, civilian protesters have breached the army's headquarters, and pro-Khan mobs have looted the official residence of the powerful Army Corps commander. At least 8 people have died in clashes between protesters and authorities, and his supporters have also launched rallies in London, New York, and Toronto. So far, neither the coalition government nor the army, which is widely believed to be calling the shots and has been in most of Pakistan's history, show any signs of yielding. In fact, they tried to arrest him earlier this year and then backed off, and neither does Khan. So to the team, Pakistan is slated, it should be calling elections this fall, elections where presumably Khan and his party be very popular. What is the army going to call elections? Is that going to happen? What's going to happen with his arrest? Les, I'm going to take it to you first.
Jones, I don't know. I don't know what the immediate future holds for Pakistan.
What?
I know it will be dynamic, entertaining, and ultimately disappointing. And whatever model we kind of we cover Pakistan with ends up not working. And so there's an enormous temptation on the part of American policymakers to make grand pronouncements about Pakistan, about their failure to do this, that, and the other thing. All of those failures are accurate, by the way. Pakistan's a disaster. It's not going well. Imran Khan, a notorious anti-American rhetorician, if nothing else, not a great guy from our perspective. But I think, just try to say this quickly, we have an interest in stability in Pakistan, and I think we need to avoid the temptation to make grand pronouncements. We need to try to get from one day to the next without the lid completely coming off that country. As you pointed out, they have a lot of nuclear weapons. They've got an antagonist in India and elsewhere. They're backed by China. One thing we might think about doing long-term is putting the onus on China a little bit to own the behavior of its ally here. I think that's something that could be discussed. But I think generally we need to resist the temptation to make to try to fit Pakistan into some mold of where we think they should go.
Okay, so less is for just waiting and resisting the urge to do anything, it sounds like. I don't know, Les. That sounded that's what it sounded like to me.
Sort of the
Jamil,
standard.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's a standard Les thing, right? We should be patient. We should be calm. We should be deliberate. We should be cautious. It's just the Joe Biden, Obama foreign policy. So I get it. It's not unusual, right? I mean, Les is with Blinken, and that's fine. He can, Avril Haines and Les and Anthony Blinken can agree. But look, I think we have got to draw the line with Pakistan, right? This idea that it's shocking that there's corruption in Pakistan. It's shocking that Imran Khan was accused of corruption. It's shocking the military has control of the government. I mean, let's be serious, right? Pakistan has always been a military with a country, not a country with a military. They have, 100 plus nuclear weapons. The only reason we play footsie with Pakistan is because we need them for Afghanistan. We need them as a strategic balance in the region. And we've thought that the alliance at times works in our interest. And the reality is the alliances rarely works in our interest. More often than not, the Pakistanis have played a double game that they have mastered. They have played us at every turn. Imran Khan is the latest and worst example, but Shahbaz Sharif, the brother, nephew, cousin, whatever he is of Nawaz Sharif, is not that much different. I think the time has come to really put it to Pakistan and make it clear that we are not putting up with this anymore. And I actually think that bold action is more important here than just waiting and seeing what happens, like it's a prescription from the Obama, Biden, Munson team.
I have a quick reaction, which is that bold action will fail. But if we want to try that, I'm open-minded. None of it will work or achieve the goals that we want it to achieve, but sure, let's give it a shot.
Well, some would argue that Khan was a little angry that Biden never called him during his first couple years in office. Instead of coming to Biden's first summit for democracy, Khan went over to China for their kind of parallel democracy summit as well. And so, he made overtures, and maybe the U.S. was busy with other things. The Afghanistan withdrawal, it's kind of dropped off, the priority list. Do you think we've rebuffed them and they're, did we do something wrong? Did we miss some opportunity there? Are we worried about them cozying up even more to China? Pakistan is the biggest recipient of China's Belt and Road Initiative. What do we make? We've mentioned China. Do we need to think about it more, or is that enough?
Look, I'll give you my quick reaction, Jones. Pakistan chooses to saddle up to Beijing. That's their decision. They own that. Beijing owns that. We ought to, in the international sphere, we ought to be putting a lot of the onus of what happens in Pakistan on China, frankly. It's not our responsibility that these things have happened. I think we should continue to manage it in a smart way going forward and make sure that this situation doesn't get out of control. But in the long run, Pakistan is going to make its own decisions about which way it's going to go. It's pretty clear what the United States is offering. It's pretty clear what China's offering. And Pakistan chooses to go with China. There should be consequences for that, for China and for Pakistan.
I totally agree with a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jamil, to your point, to ask you, Jamil, I mean, China's courting everyone, right? So they're courting India. So are we. I mean, Pakistan and India. I mean, does Pakistan need to get worried? Do they need up their partner game? What do you think?
Well, look, I think that this is an opportunity for us to build a closer alliance with India. We've been talking about it. We've been working on it for a while. The Indians, like the Pakistanis, frankly, have been playing us for a long time. They play this non-aligned movement, a card that they've done for decades. And the truth is that they need to realize too that there are tough choices in the region between us and China. These are not hard calls. India should be allied much more closely with us. And we ought to make clear to them that we are pushing the Pakistanis off the boat, and it's their fault that we're doing so, and that we're joining closer to the Indians. But that requires India to be willing to play ball, and they haven't really been willing to play ball, even though they're part of the Quad, et cetera, et cetera. They haven't really been willing to play ball, and I think now's the time to put both Pakistan and India to the test.
Awesome. Sorry, audience, that Les wouldn't do Magic 8 Ball and let us know what's going to be the future of Pakistan, but I guess we'll just wait and see. That's a wrap. Thanks to Brooke Agacon from NSI and Claude Jennings for their help producing today's episode. Join us again on Friday for another great episode of Fault Lines, the podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security debates shaking up America. We're also on YouTube, so please check us out there. And if you like what you heard or saw, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.